welcome to the second episode of my podcast. Today, I'm really excited because I get to interview one of my top 3 favorite humans on the planet. This is Riley. Riley is 16 years old and we've been homeschooling for 10 years. Riley, thanks for letting me interview you.
No problems.
If I look down, it's because I have my questions in my lap. So my first question for you is, so you did a little bit, I don't know how much you remember from kindy and year 1, but you've done a little bit of private schooling, a little bit of public schooling, and then quite a lot of homeschooling. So you've had like a broad range of experiences there. What worked best for you?
Homeschooling was definitely the best option for me. It just worked better. I had a bit more choice about what I could do, when I do it, where I work. It's more flexible, and I required that flexibility to work.
Yeah, definitely for me, I think the flexibility was key as well. Yeah, especially flexibility with times and with,
the curriculum.
Yeah, the curriculum, because I found that the curriculum was too rigid, and I think you did too.
It was at school. It was very much sit down and do this and this and like the dot points, and I feel like that just wasn't for me. It works for other people, but it just wasn't my way to learn.
Exactly.
I learned better in the world.
Yeah, wonderful. Okay, well, that brings me, actually, you brought up a good point there, I think, to one of my questions, because a lot of people will say, oh, if you're homeschooling, how will you prepare for work later on in life? Because I think there's an expectation that work will be very much like the school system, where you have to do certain things at certain times.
Well, for some professions that might be true, but I feel like people who do work better with that would school that way and then go into those professions. For me, though, I personally love writing and art and very creative things, and that's kind of my career choice. I want to be an author and an illustrator. So for me, very much flexible times, but still working with deadlines, because I do better with deadlines and routine.
Excellent. Yeah, I need routine and deadlines as well. Like, it's not like we're saying, oh, can't have deadlines.
But I can't sit down straight for hours and just focus. Like, I require getting up and moving and getting the ideas and doing all that stuff.
I think movement is really important for everyone as well. Otherwise, you can't focus if you're not moving.
And hydration. Otherwise, the brain dries up and you don't function. I learned that pretty early on.
We learned something homeschooling.
A lot of things homeschooling, especially hydration.
And so I don't want to focus on this too much, because obviously your health conditions and disability aren't all that makes up you. You are so much more than that, but it is a big part of your life. So do you want to tell us a little bit about your health conditions and how you manage that?
Well, I have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome and dysautonomia and autism. Those are my main 3 conditions. So dysautonomia, it's a heart condition, so I can't really walk far, and the heat affects it, so prone to passing out, high blood pressure, high heart rate, low blood pressure, low heart rate, just all the fun roller coasters. And Ehlers-Danlos affects my joints, so my hypermobility, so got all the fun stuff with the flexibility, but I also got the fun stuff of my organs not liking me.
I don't know that they don't like you, they just don't have the connective tissue. They don't have the connective tissue to function as well as most people.
I mean, I'm sure they like me, and they tried their best.
It's all we can ask, Riley. It's all we can ask.
Yeah.
So Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, how does that affect you, and why does that make school in the school system so challenging?
Well, sitting down for long periods of time, it can, like, my joints can get really sore. Like, movement is good for getting the brain power going. Sorry, lost my voice there. It's good for getting the brain power going, but it's also good for my joints. When I stay still for too long, that's really sore, and it can cramp and it can lock into place, and then it makes it harder for me to move later on. And it's not good for the heart rate to just be sitting down all day, because, you've got to get the movement in.
Yeah, exactly.
Got to take snack breaks when you need them, instead of you're going to work for this amount of time and then you're going to get food.
Yeah, that doesn't work when you're dealing, because you deal with nausea all day, every day. Yeah. So that's a really challenging thing.
We get all the fun comorbidities. with my conditions. So nausea. It's like, well, maybe I'm hungry now. Maybe I'm not hungry when the designated food time is. So flexibility is great when you have chronic illnesses because you just listen to what your body tells you to do and then you can manage it easier.
Yeah, I think the ultimate benefit of homeschooling has been managing your illnesses in a way that allows you to still study without just becoming so fatigued and exhausted.
Like
and
I can
in too
take
much
naps
pain.
when I need to. I can take breaks. I can eat when I want to eat, and don't when I don't want to.
Yeah, exactly. Wonderful. Okay, so I think a lot of people are going to be very interested in. You started university when you were 14.
I did.
So you're 16 and you're currently in your second year. What are you studying? Why do you love it?
Well, I'm studying a Bachelor of Arts in Creative Writing, and I love it because writing is my passion. It has been since I was very, very young, like 9, 10. I started writing my first book, and I self-published that when I was 12. And I don't know, I got a big passion for writing. I love writing, I love reading, and I've recently got into drawing, so I'm also doing some drawing electives alongside my writing.
So I love your writing. I'm glad you love writing because I think it's wonderful. And how did you do it then? Because we know there are so many different pathways into
So
uni. Which pathway did you choose?
Well, like I said, there are many different pathways, but the one that I chose was I did a few online uni units. I did 4 of them, and then I managed to get enough credit points to enroll in the main degree. So I didn't have to do NAPLAN or ULNA or even ATAR. I managed to bypass all that stress, all that worrying, and just get straight into my passion and use that passion to get me into a degree to further my skills.
And this is what I love. It's you used your passion to get into the course that you're passionate about. Like, this is what I love about
I just
homeschooling.
bypassed all the stress too. I'm just like, tests, I'm good. That's too much for me. We're too much.
And I think obviously there's going to be some certain degrees or certain professions where tests might be a great thing, like
Exactly.
doctors and nurses and
Yeah,
vets
like,
and things like that.
That's good for tests, but how can you test creative writing? Like, creative writing is a subjective course. You can't sit people down and examine it because it is creative, it's experimental, it's all about the writer and the reader.
Exactly.
You can't test that.
Exactly. So why have that pressure when you know what you're going into?
Exactly.
Doesn't have that
If
pressure.
you don't need to put all that pressure on yourself, I say don't.
Yeah, absolutely. The oven is beeping, so I'll be back in 2 seconds. I'm back. All right, so thank you so much for sharing all of this. Now, I thought to end it off, we would do a speed round, but a different kind of speed round. So I'm going to say 5 really random things that people have said to us when they've heard that we're homeschooling.
Yep.
And you're allowed like a 5 or 6 word response, like a real quick 20-second response.
Okay, I can do that.
All
Let's
right.
see.
So people say, we've had people say, homeschoolers are weird.
Of course we're weird. I'm weird.
You're like, not denying it. No, we're good.
I'm a weirdo. I mean, who cares? Be weird. Be your perfectly weird self.
Yes, I love it. Own it. You'll never get into uni.
I did it at 14.
I
don't know people who have done it too.
How will you make friends if you don't go to school?
I literally started my own D&D group, a bunch of nerds like me.
Yes.
You should hear the stuff we get up to. It's fun. I've actually written about it.
You'll never get a job.
I mean, I'm doing my job.
Yeah.
I'm writing. That's what my career is. I'm a writer.
Excellent. This one gets me at a whole different level. You need to go to school to learn how to cope with bullies and deal with trauma.
I literally went to school and I got bullied and got some little trauma there from it. It was a fun time.
Yeah. And, I want to say that to people who think that going to school and being bullied and dealing with bullies is a good strategy for learning.
No.
I don't get that because, as an adult, if you go to work or you go somewhere and people are, and we're not talking about just being nasty, we're talking about relentless bullying, like physical assault or continued bullying. if you're in a workplace, you can address that with your boss, and usually the other person is fired or removed from the situation, or you are removed, but real strategies are put in place. And in the school system, really, the teachers and the principals and everyone, their hands are tied. You can't, it takes a lot to get a child kicked out of school. And there's a lot of issues there as well, like, well, what's happening to the child that's bullying?
Exactly. It's a whole mess. And saying that getting bullied helps you, I'm gonna say no, it doesn't.
It really doesn't. And as adults, we have things in place that help us remove ourselves from a situation. And if you were continuously bullied, you would quit, you would leave. So why can't we leave the school where we're being bullied? Why?
No, you can't. I was just gonna let you finish that on your own.
Yeah, so that's a really weird
Go to
one.
school to avoid being bullied,
or to learn how to deal with bullies. No, maybe I disagree with that.
I feel like logic kind of just left the chat then.
Yeah, me too. All right, finish it up. Last question. I didn't even think of a good last question. Is there anything you want to let people know about homeschooling or your personal individual homeschool journey?
Homeschooling's great.
Oh, there you go. You heard it. Thank you so much for listening in. Sorry we giggled so much. The blooper reel is going to be awesome.
It's going to be great.
And for my next video, I'm going to be chatting about some of the mistakes we made and some of the ways we rectified that, so that you can avoid some of the pitfalls that we made when we set up homeschooling. Thanks for listening. Hope you have an amazing day.